Need or desire? Three, two, one. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to episode 279 of the Shower Podcast, the podcast where I'm in my shower and you do you. I'm your host, Chip, and first of all, welcome back officially after our mini break last week with the recap episodes and the weekend drops. I hope that always I try to do a real and proper episode of the Shower Podcast when I'm away for a bit, since I feel like you deserve it. And it's always also a good way for me to get back into the mood. I feel like doing any kind of other episode is not so helpful to help me get back to it, because again, it's not easy. After you stop, in quotes, for 1 week, it's always good to be back with this, because it is indeed the hardest way of making the episode. And given that it's so hard, today I will try to describe to you a personal thought that hopefully will also, make you question some of your choices, your beliefs, and maybe we can find a common ground. Before we start, as usual, if you end up liking this episode, remember that liking and subscribing really mean a lot for me. They're just one click, but they really, really make the difference. Thank you very much for considering it. So, let's dive into the topic of today. The main area of interest is, desire. Desire, need, and overall what drives us to make difficult things in our life. I was thinking, and it always comes, from my personal experiences and beliefs, that I was actually questioning why it became so hard for me to stick to a routine for the gym. A few years ago, when I was still living with my parents and I was in Rome, I remember that I was going even late into the night when I had a full day behind me, but I didn't have proper dinner, but I was still going. And now, even if I have it below my apartment, I struggle. And even though it is true that I've a bit shifted from regular, weightlifting to other sports, like, racket sports, to say it generally, it's just an excuse that I give myself. And this is not the topic of today, even though it might be very interesting. The kind of excuses that we give ourselves when we try to find a reason why we're not doing what we're supposed to do. But by thinking a bit more about it, I realized that I do not have the same desire to get a result as I used to have. Back then, there was a desire to look better, to be a bit thinner, and overall, it was coming from a place where I actually dreamt of that result. That I didn't used to look necessarily as I do now. And in that period, the act of going was always fueled by this desire. And I realized furthermore that something that I'm struggling with as of right now is indeed this sense of desire. Because back, in my past, and overall, I believe that in the experience of anyone that is listening to the podcast, but generally speaking, there are two driving forces. There is need, that I believe it is the strongest, when you actually have to do something where you have no other choice, either if you want it or not, if you desire it or not, you will end up doing it, because there is no other alternative. The problem with that state of mind is that it's not necessarily enjoyable. You might get great results in those environments. You might be able to do a lot that otherwise you would never, be able to think that you would be capable of that. But again, it's not something that you want always in your life. So looking at today, where I don't necessarily have the need to do a lot of the things that I did in the past, I have to look for something else. And that thing is desire. And here I also see two different categories. I see a positive desire, which is, what I would like to describe to you in a few minutes. But there's also a bad one. And it's the desire of something you don't have just to prove something. And the interesting bit about this kind of desire is that it kind of takes a lot of power from the same feelings that you had when you were in need. Because your mind kind of tricks you and makes you think that those things that you are supposedly missing, and this can be anything. It can be material things, it can be relationships, it can be, again, anything that is in your life that you see outside of it, but it's not still yours. And therefore, it becomes a desire, but in terms of a need. And again, as of with the need, the power you get from that is quite high. You get a lot of motivation, you get a lot of persistence, and you almost become obsessed. And if you've listened to one of the previous episodes of the Shower podcast, you might know how much how much I value obsession in a good way. But again, I really encourage you to go listen to that episode if you're interested. So even though you might get a lot from need and bad desire, I really believe we should discard them because, again, they put you in a state of mind that becomes toxic and, most importantly, is going to consume you. So even though you might have been in these states, you might also be right now, I think that we can all agree that those are things that you would, let's say, dream of removing in any way, shape, or form. Sometimes it's not possible, and this is what you have to go with, but sometimes it is. And I would like to close it on a good remark, and that be it that the moment that you actually are able to find desire in, again, it can be anything because this is truly personal, but let's make again the example of, let's say, losing weight or sticking to the gym. When you actually desire it and it's something that you enjoy in every moment of it, so it's not just the result that you are chasing, you are able to make it part of your life. And the moment that you have that, it's really kind of impossible to lose it. Whereas if you're looking for a specific result, if it's not a desire that it's long lasting, okay, so it's not gonna become part of what you are, it's slowly gonna fade away. And therefore, you also encounter the problem that it might become a need down the line. So again, you're looping back to the bad habits, or you just leave it off. And again, as we said, even though it was supposed something that was there to help you, it becomes, let's say, not being present in your life, therefore hindering you. So finally, as we usually do here on the Shower podcast, what is the solution? In this case, there is not really one. It's more about inviting you to introspection and finding something that you really feel like pursuing and trying to describe it in your head as a desire. What do I look forward in this? Why do I want it? For how much time do I want it? And if you're able to describe these things, if you're able to make it clear in your head, then you're going in the right direction and it might become something that it's worth pursuing. But if you're not really clear what you want, if the reasons are outside of your life, or if you are strictly pushed by need, then you might need to reframe that desire because, again, it's not in the right place. And down the line, you might risk that it's gonna hinder you, as I said before. So having said that, that was all for today. Thank you very much for listening. Slower episode, but again, I also need to get back to it. I have an interesting one in the coming days. And again, fingers crossed for the surprise that I promised you a few weeks back. That thing is progressing positively. So yeah, fingers crossed. If you made it so far, thank you very much for listening. And feel free to engage with this content in any way, shape or form you want to. Be it commenting, sharing, whatever works for you. And having said that, as usual, stay consistent, stay resilient. This was the Shower Podcast, and I'll see you tomorrow.